Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Automation Testing Online. Today's video we are going to discuss about exception handling. Firstly, we have to understand what is the difference between error and exception. Errors are usually caused by humans. Suppose if a person causes a mistake in a syntax, it shows a syntax error. And there are some unrecoverable conditions like when the JVM runs out of memory, or there is a memory leakage, or if library incompatibility. For example, if we want to store some data in a pen drive, but the pen drive is insufficient memory, then it shows an error. If we attempt to start a system without connecting to internet, it shows an error. So errors are usually beyond the control of the programmer, and we should not try to handle it. Coming to exception, exception is an unwanted or unexpected event which occurs during the execution of the program. Exception can be caught and handled by the program. Let's understand what is an object and exception. So when an exception occurs within a method, it creates an object. This object is called as exception object. It contains the information about the exception, such as name and description of the exception, and also the state of the program when the exception occurred. Let's look into the hierarchy of the exceptions. All the exceptions and error types are the subclasses of the class throwable, which is the base class of the hierarchy. One branch is headed by exceptions and the other by error. The exceptions branch are used for the exceptional handling that the user programs should catch. We have two types of exceptions, which are compile time exception and runtime exception. Coming to the error branch, it is used for Java runtime environment, that is JRE, to indicate the errors. Coming to the types of exception, we have two types of exception, which is checked exception and unchecked exception. Checked exception is also called as compile time exceptions because these exceptions are checked at the compile time by the compiler. Java has a inbuilt checklist within itself so that when we are going to occur any error, it asks for a default question. For example, if I'm giving a file method, it asks for file not found exception. It wanted to ensure that whether the file is present or not. And unchecked exception is the opposite of checked exception. It is also called as runtime exceptions. Because these exceptions occur only at the runtime. And these exceptions will not be checked by the compiler. So in file handling, while I was giving file method, it throws an file not found exception, which is an checked exception. For unchecked exception, which is runtime exception, let's look into the example of arrays, which we have discussed earlier. Here I have asked to print birth of 6th index, but 6th index is not present here. Until we run the program, JVM does not know that sixth index is not present. Only when I run the program, it throws an exception, array index out of bounds exception, which is an runtime exception. So the examples for checked exceptions are file not found exception, IO exception, class not found exception, etc. And for unchecked exceptions, we have examples as array index out of bounds exception, null pointer exception, arithmetic exception, etc. Let's write a program for compile time exception. So first I'm giving system dot. So here after start I'm giving a method called thread.sleep. Thread.sleep is used to delay the time for the next line to be printed. So as soon as I give this thread.sleep, it asks for an exception. So that exception is interrupted exception. This interrupted exception comes from the Java checklist. So this is a checked exception. Now let's write a program for a runtime exception. So here I'm giving integer I is equal to 1 by 0, which is an invalid. And I wanted to print the value of I. Here it does not show any exception when we are writing the program, because we can expect the exception only at the runtime. So here it throws an arithmetic exception. We have a way to handle these exceptions without removing these methods. For that, we have a method called TryCatch. So I'm giving here try. I wanted the exceptional to be handled after the value is printed. So here I'm giving the close bracket and I'm giving catch, one bracket. So here I wanted a message to be printed. So I'm giving before that, just copy this arithmetic exception, paste it here, and give a name to that, say E. Now I wanted to get the message, so E dot get message. Let's run the program. We were able to run the program because this exception was handled. We were able to try and catch the exception. Likewise, we can handle multiple exceptions. But we can use only one try. We can have multiple catches. Let's see how does try catch works for multiple exceptions. First, I'm fixing this previous exception. I'm going to create another exception, which is array index out of bound exception. So I'm giving integer a. Here I wanted to print a of 6. I have created only 3 blocks, but I wanted to print 6th block. Okay, it throws an array index out of bounds exception. In this case, I am giving another catch method. So here I am going to copy paste array index out of bound exception. Let's see the output. So it gives us the message, since I have given here e.get message, The program has been executed successfully since we have given TryCatch method to handle the exceptions. It gives us the message why the exception has occurred. It says that index 6 out of bounds for length 3. What do we do in case we don't know what is the exact exception? Suppose we are not sure about what exception is going to occur. We can give only one exception, which is the top level of all the exception. That is exception. Once I give exception E, all those exceptions, any of the exceptions which we are not sure, will be handled. So friends, this is all for today. We will end the session. So far we have discussed about exception, types of exceptions, and how to handle those exceptions using TryCatch. In my next video, we will meet up with the continuation of this topic. Thank you.